Bame Farm fans. It's the first Sunday in May, Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, we got rained out yesterday. And it's probably a little too damp today, like I can't till that area. But this is what I chisel plowed in February. And we're not making any dust, but I'm just out here trying to hack down the grass that grew back after chisel plowing. And this will probably sit again for multiple weeks because this is supposed to be beans out here. And I'm just trying to, well, make a bit of difference to slow the grass, incorporate our organic material and cover crop. I couldn't believe I'd be able to chisel plow and still have a cover crop. But holy cow, what are we doing? Well, we got the 4150 hooked to the Deutz disc. Now we're gonna have some little action here the first time out. No dust to be made today. So let's get after it. Now we can't leave the door open. It'll hit the tire. In fact, I need to watch to see if the tires hit each other when they turn. Hope not. We have two ways of looking at ourselves. There's even a side mirror that needs adjustment. Oh wait, that's on the... Huh. You can't... What good does that do? Because when that window is closed, you can't do jack with that mirror. Like you have to have the wing windows open to be able to see those mirrors. There's a nice breeze. Huh. Need to look at that. The temperature isn't necessarily reading great. I knew about the low RPM and the trans light when you're sitting here just idling. That's no big deal. See, it goes away with about 2 more RPM. If the oil pressure gauge works, we've got great oil pressure. But the temperature gauge, either the sending unit's not working or we have a bad thermostat, but it's not acting hot at all. And I just made down and back. I only have to go down and back 3 or 4 times in this field. Of course, I do have a lot of stuff in the way, impeding progress, because I need to find someplace else to store that for the summer. I mean, the hay wagons will be getting used eventually in the silage wagon in the fall. But barn space, it's all about barn space. You'll have to wait for a different video to see the wings go up and down. But this is just a fun trial and error day to see what we can do on a Sunday to break to fix tomorrow. Okay, let's choose a gear. Man, this is always too much fun. Come on, there we go. So I went for third. We're gonna third direct. Just shy of 5 miles an hour. Kind of playing this by ear, what feels good and what doesn't feel good. Put it down. Make sure we miss everything. This isn't going to be the most perfect of disking jobs. Oh boy, we got to figure out how this thing turns. It's almost like the 2+2, except we're sitting up front. Yeah, how do you like watching the wheel through the window right there? That's a blast. To find a good gauge of where do we place something on the windshield in relation to the edge of our last pass to see where we've been. Because the heat's still on, and I don't know what we're doing, but we're just playing. don't wonder if our problem is not electronical, because everything was hot. The radiator was hot, like, you know, as hot as the radiator would be, we'll say. The radiator was clean, so it's not overheating that way. And a lot of these systems work on like variable grounding to create, I don't know, resistance, we'll say, to change the gauge, and this is an electronic temperature gauge. I may be stupid enough to spend the money on the thermostat, but then also put a capillary gauge on it, because, you know, it's harder to wreck that than it is electrical things, especially when they're 40-something years old. So enough yik-yak. So I just turned the blower on. What if we turn the lights on? Now, that's not changing our temperature gauge any. Yeah, we can see it there on the amp gauge. But I was just thinking that the draw of the power was changing the voltage enough for some odd reason. So one fun thing about this tractor is that there's no differential locks, and having such like ginormous tires on it, it's almost like we don't have enough weight for the amount of tire area, so it makes it float too much. And then that, you know, it just not having enough like PSI, we'll say. Like it'd almost be better with a little skinnier tires, because then the weight would be more concentrated. Whereas now we're spread a little bit. I can tell in some places where there's less grass that I do spin. I mean, kind of watch through the window maybe. The window's a little dirty. I haven't gone through and given everything a bath yet. And there are some things I definitely want to change. I want to move the seat up, because I feel like I'm sitting really low. That's a minor detail. Or move the seat back, because that's a real kneecap breaker. And we're pulling a hill and it's a little damp. You can probably see the tires. If we look right behind the wheels, we're getting a little extra tillage action from the rubber. Chisel plowed this, there would have been a really great cover crop of hay-like material, like grass and stuff. Then we're going to find out which tire has better traction. See, there's a bit less grass right there. I don't know if having the grass just helped have the moisture out of the soil before it rained, so it was drier. The front, that one's plowing. I wish we had individual brakes, but we don't. I think the brakes only work on the front. Like, I don't think there's brakes for the back axle. It's just the front axle. And they do stop you eventually. They're a little low, but I've never driven one of these before, or any other ones to know. But they do stop. Eventually. Oh boy, this will be fun. Right, one of the damper spots in the field. Yep. For some reason it's a little damp right there, and we're up on a high plateau. I don't know if it just catches all the water from the high spot and comes this way. Definitely gonna dig into the at least take a look at the thermostat tomorrow. Figure out why it's reading warm. But like I said, it's electric, so that's always so trustworthy after 40-something years. Well, once, and that's good enough for now. It's time for wings up, which should be backwards. I always set it up so pulling the lever backwards is up. It seems to make more sense for going down, that down is forward. At least that's how I view it in my mind. Good news, bad news is you always have to fold the wings up because this thing is so wide. It's pretty hard to get anywhere with the wings down. And I gotta do some digging. With all the grass, it really got caught in the scrapers. So that's a real party. Most everything else is not so grassy as we were here, so that is good. Now let's go find a spot to park this. And so I can work on looking at our heat issue, or at least our dial issue of heat. Thanks to the rain, we're having a bit of a repair day. I just had the engine running, and well, let's hear the annoying buzz. Well, the temperature's come down a lot. It was a lot farther in the green, and we just had it sitting here idling for maybe 20 minutes. Pretty sure it's thermostat, because the needle did start off down by the cold area. And I'm tired of sitting on the floor, and it's set at light as a feather, and I need to, let's say, tighten this screw a bunch to make it hold a ton of bricks or something. And that's just without sitting there and trying to move the whole seat mounting up. Still looks like a factory seat and everything, so let's see if we can adjust it. I mean, shoot, they got it set up. Well, right now I have the seat slid all the way forward. But with all the adjustments, yeah, you can have your 5-year-old drive. At least that's the way the seat's set for weight. But, like, you know, you can probably reach the pedals now. Might be hard getting into all the gears, though. It'll probably hit the seat. No, not quite. There's some room there, barely, to get it into second. Well, I gave up on the seat, and I figured out why it was set where it was set, because if we see there, it says lighter and heavier. I don't know what that means. You figure lighter means it's a lighter person, there's more spring. So I tried turning it towards the heavy, and all that did was sink the seat down. Yeah, I still bottom it out. See that? Right there. Yeah, I'm still in that spot. And I had to get a pipe wrench because it had never been adjusted in so long. Well, so that's going to be that. I did fiddle with some settings on the tilt in the back, and it feels less bad. And I have the dash cover off down there to figure out why the tack drive isn't working, because that's what I felt like attacking next. So I'm trying to watch. I have up there by the oil filter, or that's a fuel filter, the other end of the tack drive, and we have, it turns, but when I started the engine up, we didn't have any juice. No connectivity, no nothing. So I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the problem. Like, our cable seems good. I can feel that when I stick it in there, it's turning, so it's just whether or not, like, is it, am I all the way on it enough? That's like, there's so much of that is around it. It's so annoying at the end before it's square. Like, why can't you make it square to the very tip? So yeah, there's enough that it'll say test good, because there's actually enough to fully assemble it and make it super tight. There's the gearbox. That looks familiar. I had to replace that on the 1466. It's a very similar design if it's not the same. You know, dummy me didn't think much of pulling the air filter because I had to take the cover off. The air filter looks pretty good. I don't see a bunch of dust in it, but what I do see is mouse nest. And the mouse went from the heat shield and in. That's the intake. Like, that's a pretty wide open just intake. I'm surprised this doesn't have anything to protect it more. At least put like a thing out the hood and have a little mushroom sticking up. But nope, just sucking air, sucking the mice in. Yeah, these filters look great. But I need to get that out of the way so I can remove the mouth nest and hopefully I can get it all. Because it, you know, the air comes in there and it gets shot that way and through the air filter. And there's not as much in there as I thought. And it obviously didn't make it into the engine, but holy cow, come on guys. So I determined that I think the cable's good. I guess. Well, sadly I've determined that the problem is inside the gearbox. That this part goes into the camshaft, and well, if it's not all the way that way, it doesn't turn anything inside there. So, I don't know, I'm just looking to see if I can see anything before I go spend, I don't know, 150 bucks on a new tack drive gearbox. Blech. Alright, let's take a look at all this fun. This is like a pipe plug of sorts, and it's actually attached to this little gear there. That slides all the way out. I guess it's kind of a bushing fit for this side, and that's obviously good and tight. And those teeth look toothy. So what's the deal? We can see gears in there. Huh. So that gear, actually, you can't see it, I can see it, but looking down in there, because the light's not in our favor, that gear doesn't look bad, it's just how it's attached. That shouldn't be so wiggly. So maybe the gear's not attached, and maybe it just needs a roll pin through it or something. Maybe, just maybe, I'll get lucky yet. I had to modify one of Grandpa's old wrenches. It was already kind of thin, and I just made it thinner. Of course, it's also spreading real bad. It was already spread before I modified it thinner, but now I might have a chance at, if we can break in here, and maybe we can fix this instead of buying a new one and save 100 bucks. It's still going to kill all afternoon fiddling with it, though. Oh, well, look at that. I got it apart. And we have a problem here. Look at that, guys. It's supposed to come apart. There was like a little piece of wire that held it in. I don't know if you can see a 6-sided hole. And, well, that's not 6-sided, so it's rounded off in there. I don't know if I have all the proper tools to properly fix this and actually get it to work. So I guess I'll spend the 100 bucks. New one tomorrow. But at least we know what the inside of one of these gearboxes look like. Well, here's the new gearbox. If anybody remembers from the previous views in this video, this is a mirror image of the other little gearbox where the drive, or the output was on this side and the grease zerk was over here. And one thing that doesn't really make me happy, I don't know how well we can portray this. Yeah, such a tight fit in there, guys. Jeez. Well, ta-da! One brand new tack drive gearbox in place. Now I just gotta test it out, but still working on that. Gotta get the thermostats in. I had to make my own gasket because I went super aftermarket. And the thermostats didn't go through CAT. It's a double thermostat system, so I guess they plan on moving a lot of water. But this isn't a video about how to make a gasket, but if you have gasket paper, take a hammer, you can tap all the way around, it'll leave an imprint. And then if you're really good with the hammer, and the edge is good and sharp, or at least a very right angle, it'll just about rip real nicely for you. Or you can get out some sort of sharp knife or a scissors and cut it out. Usually for the holes like this, I have to use a knife. It's hard to get scissors in there to cut a circle. So yes, this is my new gasket. Yay. Tap. Get the hammer hard enough. It's almost like using a hole punch, and things will come right out. Like making nice perforations. On a side note, ew, yeah, spring's gone to. It's raining a bunch. You can hear it, especially when I'm quiet. The thermostats are in place. Got our lovely gasket, putting some bolts in. And what better time to do water, well, not a water pump, but thermostats, and in the rain. You know, it's all about water, right? Water temperature wants to cool us down. Nothing's hot right now. So my mud is getting dry, apparently. Well, we're all buttoned up, as ugly and wet as can be. So let's start it up. See what happens. Yay, I still have to put the cover on the dash. But maybe I'll need to take the cover off since I put the cover back on. Just trying to guarantee it works by not being safely set up to go. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to leave it sit here and run a hot minute. Oil pressure is slowly coming up, and I'll catch you guys in a bit just to see what the gauge does. Well, I can't believe I missed the most important part. I know now how fast we're going. The tach works. I love it. A 32-week cat idles at 1,000. It's like a little foreign car that won't idle down to save its life. And the throttle handle is very low in its positioning options. We have enough sun. This should only take a few minutes. We'll let it burn some fuel at 1500 RPM and see what the sensor does. Well, that is annoying. Very annoying, because we just were sitting here idling for maybe 10-15 minutes. The radiator is clean, no problem. We get out our handy-dandy temp gun, get down on the side of the block. That's an acceptable temperature for how the thermostats are set. It's not like we're getting up into the 200s or anything. So something along the lines, either the needle or one of the sensors is not correct, not doing well, and this has a sensor right there, a sensor down there, multiple sensors that may just get replaced with a mechanical one in about 5 minutes. We'll see. Well, it's time to go out and try it. I already know the temperature gauge isn't working. I used the heat gun yesterday, but we'll give it some a good run to build up some real heat and see what happens. Everybody up? Okay, let's see how fast we got to race. Man, that's quick. The cat is just screaming. Ooh, I was not running that fast before, that's for sure. I don't even know if I want to run this fast. I sure do like 6 cylinders. Oh, this is, when you get that cat spinning, that's cruising all right when the cat's spinning. Woo! temperature. Everybody going down the steps there. Got our handy dandy heat gun. Find a good spot on the block back here. Well, we got a little bit of heat going now. Definitely warmer than it was. I'm trying to think where else can we shoot it. We can get right in front of the thermostats there. 190, it was 210. Well, maybe it is getting a little hot. I'm not quite sure what a good operating temperature on this is. I do have a, let's say, a manual gauge to put on it, but I don't have anywhere to actually mount the dial readout because I don't have a long enough tail on the gauge to go from the engine to the cab. I don't want to leave one of those, you know, have a gauge sitting on top of the hood or something outside. Remember how warm it was back here? Yeah. So that's 197 on that side of the block, and we come over here and we'll look in the side. It's 10 degrees cooler, and the farther forward on the block, the cooler it is. Which I guess makes sense, because it's getting more of the, like, you know, freshly cooled water in the front, because that's where the pump is, and it's got to work its way back. Like the hot spot in the block is the back. It gets the farthest away from the pump. So that's an interesting note. I don't know why they put the thermostat way up in the front when you need it in the back, or, you know, where the circulation's the farthest away, we'll say. I did one last shot with the heat gun before I shut it off. I mean, I just drove back to the house. Not that it would have cooled down too quick, but I guess it cooled down enough. We're running good, just you know, bad sensor. And it looks like there's multiple temperature sensors along the front of the block because they're all wired together. Well, we did good. Made use of the big tires in one or two damp spots. I was just trying to get across some chisel ground here at the house.